Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. We have a member interview today at ITSA, and let's do some housekeeping. I will introduce myself. I have two great guys from Caiz, and we will talk about the protocol today and the tokenomics and everything that's about the project. But first of all, let me introduce you to ITSA. We are called the International Token Standardization Association. My name is Valentin, and I'm executive director at ITSA. And what we do, we develop token standards for the global token markets. On the one hand, on the other hand, we've developed this comprehensive classification framework for classifying any type of token on any type of DLT. And Caiz, there is a member of ITSA, and we wanted today to talk about the project, what's it about, and I would like to start with a quick introduction. And
Sure.
Let's start with Philippe. And Philippe, could you introduce yourself? What brought you maybe to crypto? Give us some prehistory. And when did you join Caiz, and what's your role at Caiz?
Yeah. My name is Philippe Theunissen. I'm Chief Blockchain Officer at Caiz. Very excited to work on the whole blockchain solution here. And what brought me into crypto? My background is artificial intelligence. I always had software companies, and at the end of 2015, I stumbled on Bitcoin, and that's how I started with crypto. I was triggered and intrigued right away, and since then I had quite some crypto businesses. We had a crypto fund, several dApps developed. We had an exchange in Canada. So crypto and I think blockchain technology will change the world in a very big way.
Yeah.
And that's so. I was thinking about I need to be involved in this whole thing. And why did I join Caiz? I think Caiz is now really building a solution for a lot of people that have no access to financial services, they have no access to banking infrastructure, and I think we can only solve that with a proper blockchain solution. And what I like a lot is, if you look at the economics of the economic model that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are pushing, it's away from Western style finance, and of course we will talk about this much more later. And it goes toward a new paradigm, and that's what we are building. So we will talk about that later.
Okay, great. Thank you. Jörg, can you also do an intro of yourself?
Sure. So Jörg Hansen, I'm managing director in Germany. We say Geschäftsführer, managing director of Caiz Development. Caiz consists of a group of companies. The German entity Development GmbH, private limited, basically is responsible for the tech development. I joined Caiz early this year. Oh my God, time flies. It's been quite a ride, an interesting year in crypto. Crazy.
Definitely.
It seems like 5 years, but it's been a year only. Before that, I worked for a couple of companies that dealt with blockchain infrastructure, DLT. I was part of a project in Thailand to work on a blueprint for the DLT-based capital markets. At that time, actually together with Professor Sandner from the Frankfurt School. And my original background is banking. I spent more than 25 years in several banks, mostly in Asia. Credit Suisse, Julius Baer. I was with DBS, the biggest Southeast Asian bank from Singapore. And then at some point I thought, okay, you've been a banker for long enough. Let's kick it up a notch and do something exciting. There were moments when I regretted the decision because working as a senior banker is definitely more peaceful and quiet. But if you want more in life, yes, go into crypto. It's really a roller coaster, and some people pay for roller coasters, So I came back to Germany, spent some time in the Berlin startup ecosystem on the financial side, because at that time that was where I could add most value. Now I've been in crypto long enough that I think I can add value in other aspects as well. Yeah, and why I chose Caiz of all places is basically after spending so many years in Asia, and especially Southeast Asia, big countries like Indonesia with hundreds of millions of Muslims who have their way of doing business and their way of touching crypto. And yeah, and also seeing personally, people with no or very little access to financial services, very little access to investment products. When we did the project in Thailand, we were thinking about, how a farmer in Isan province or whatever, who only have less than $100 a month income, how will they ever be able to build savings? It's just not economical for any investment provider, whereas for a crypto, you have the fractionalization and much cheaper transactions, less hassle involved, easier to set up and so on. So I thought this is probably the future. It's still early days, and we're moving through a bit of a trough at the moment, which we all knew would come to wash out all the irrational exuberance, and I'm looking forward to finally getting to work on real stuff coming 23, 24. I think it's going to be an interesting time where the real value will, the hype is gone and the value will be created. Yeah. Thank you. I also agree. You probably didn't choose the perfect moment to join crypto this year, starting this year. But this is like my third bear market, so these are cycles. Just keep up with the work, and it's time to build, and we'll enjoy it some other time next year, or maybe 1 year later after. We'll see about that. But let's jump into the project and the infrastructure and the Caiz coin. What is basically your elevator pitch when you introduce Caiz to people who don't know the project? And what is the Caiz coin? Is it the native token of the project? Philippe or Jörg?
Well, you start and I'll
very quick on from when I have to do a very, very general pitch. It's basically to explain to people that we see the biggest value add in what we do, that we are strictly inclusive. A lot of the tech in blockchain and DOT has been invented. There's a lot of solutions there, a lot of stuff there. We all know regulation is lagging behind a little bit, and some use cases still have to find their way. But what we thought about is there are so many people in the world who would benefit from a system that is a real alternative to the financial system, and enable people in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in India and Pakistan and so on, but not just them, anybody basically on the planet, to use a system which is a bit more ethical based. Absolutely. Which has our purpose is not mainly to make money, but maybe to enable lots and lots and lots of people, Muslim communities around the world who have problems touching other types of crypto. They're not really sure. And we shouldn't forget there's also companies and governments and so on who have similar concerns, in Islamic countries, building a CBDC or other solutions, whether they can actually use existing technology, existing layer one solutions, whether they're actually permittable or not, and that's what we thought about early. So it's getting as many people as possible into crypto.
And I think what also Jörg said, it's about ethical banking, right? If you look at, why is this crypto? The current winter, came a lot through over leverage. Everybody was over leveraged in the DeFi sector. And why do you leverage? You want to gain much more right now from so much more risks. And it goes wrong, and everything implodes. So if you look at Caiz, and that's what really draw me into this company. The way, the economical model, how we want to work is that it's ethical. We don't allow leverage. We don't allow interest. It's based on the Islamic law. No interest, no uncertainty or reduced uncertainty as much as possible. And here comes the ethical part as well. Whenever there's a project you invest in or you participate in, you act as a shareholder. So I mean, it's a profit share. So everybody involved in a project is there as a shareholder, and there's a pro rata share in profit and loss. So also loss. And that whole thing, so there's no leverage. You all get together in a project that you believe in, and you build something for the future. And in Islam, they call it Islamic banking. This is how they want to bank. And the current Western style banking, they work with interest and they work with leverage. So I mean, the good Muslims, they don't join these Western style banks because it's not according to Islam. But there are not many alternatives. So what happens? Indeed, they have nothing. They have no bank. They have some cash money, and they are excluded from a whole banking infrastructure. They have no ways to build a financial future. And so that is something we said. Okay, well, look, our blockchain, because what Jörg already said, it has to be economical. It has to be practical. It has to be peer-to-peer in that sense. So we make a peer-to-peer infrastructure where we allow people to connect on ethical standards. And the cool thing is, if you look in Europe, for example, in Geneva and in Florence in 1300, 1400, when the banking started to develop in Europe, it was on the exact same principles. And then interest came in. I mean, rich people just said, well, okay, how can we make more? Well, the wealthy ones, they want to use their money in a risk-free setup. So they lend you money, so they get interest, they don't need to work, and the risk is at the other party. So it was a beautiful system. If you have money, of course, it's beautiful in that system. But for society, where people, entrepreneurs, they want to do things and they want to improve society and want to make something out of their life, it's not a good system. I mean, it's all the risk is at the entrepreneur. And in the ethical banking structure, infrastructure, well, we bring back that ethical part where everybody's involved, everybody is working on the same goals. Yeah, and the cool thing is we build that in our blockchain. So it's everybody can participate. It's all about inclusiveness. It's for the whole world. To build in an ethical way your financial future. And that is that will change the world. I think it's this current crypto winter. The greed is incredible. It ruins so much. Yeah, and we build that alternative where everybody can participate in a normal, maybe slightly more boring way, but it's you really build your own wealth for the future.
It's crypto without all the bad stuff,
Yeah.
And that's also some of our founders always say, the last financial crisis, the Lehman crisis, the only financial system that didn't crash is the Islamic system, because you don't have triple packaged high risk credit derivative products which get sold, and this is simply not allowed. And this is the same here, some simple principles which say that you shouldn't deal with anonymous parties, no speculation or no interest, definitely no high speculation on these kinds of things. So those are all principles which are sort of built in. And an analogy I always draw is, when you live in Singapore, you go to KFC or whatever, to all these restaurants, and they're all halal, you wouldn't even notice. Everybody eats there, I'm not a Muslim, I also eat at KFC, and so this is what we envision, that we make something that even Muslims can without any problems use, but anybody else wouldn't even notice. This is good for everyone. We're not excluding. When we try to be as inclusive as possible in religious and also in terms of access, how people can access the system.
You mentioned that the system is trustless, so anybody can join. But you also mentioned that you want to have transparency of who joins the system. So is any party joining the system? First of all, can anybody join and be part of it? Can anybody mine it? For example, if you have like a proof of stake system, and do you need to KYC every single party on the blockchain? So in terms of to keep it transparent, so your participants and be fair towards everybody. This would be my question. How is it structured?
Every user on the blockchain in our ecosystem has to be KYC'd to have that transparency and to reduce the uncertainty of the counterparty. And it's when you onboard, there's a KYC procedure. It's also for the nodes. We have you can run your own node, but if you wanna run your node, well, you have to be KYC'd as well. So yeah, I mean, it's about full transparency, and it's also one of the Islamic compliant. There cannot be uncertainty. So we need KYC. That's one of the requirements. For that, yeah.
There's probably the only group of people who are not fully satisfied, the maximalists, you know, because in the system there is checks and balances. I mean, you see, you have to impose certain standards, the Islamic ethical standards and so on. That means you have to impose rules. That means you have to have some sort of governance. And we'll get to this later, but Stellar itself is a super great technology. It lacks a few things to be able to be used in a governed environment. That's what we built basically on top. But other than that, you wouldn't really notice a lot of difference. Like I said, it also gels very well with the general trend towards regulatory, attempts to not allow unhosted wallets and these kinds of things, which we think we are very pro regulation. Since we are regulating anyway, we say, look, the trend is going there. I think a regulator will have no problems with us because we self-regulate to a certain extent, and also conform to the usual external regulations. We're already looking at MiCA and so on very early. Instead of hoping that this stuff will never be regulated, we say like, look, it will definitely be, and let's just do it, make it as hassle-free and easy to use as possible for everyone, despite having checks and balances in place.
I understand. Yeah, this makes sense from the point of view. And I guess many projects are self-regulating because there is so much uncertainty. So it doesn't hurt if you introduce some more checks and balances. Since you mentioned you built on top of Stellar, and if we like compare all the crypto, we have on the one side current crypto like Bitcoin, the native coin, no smart contracts. Then you have Ethereum building smart contracts, enabling people to be on top of it, which enables the speculation, the yield part of the whole thing. How are you positioned? Will you allow smart contracts on top of Caiz, the infrastructure, or will you be more focused on having payments, remittances, more simple system, not allowing to have this flexibility like Ethereum where you can build anything on top of that?
I think indeed the Stellar chain is it's great technology. And I think where Stellar is very good at is they have they have the way to build assets on it, and in that sense a tokenization platform, right? You can build any assets, you can tokenize them, you can sell it. So if you look at how we want to structure this in an ethical setup, it's all about tokenizing a project. So I mean, if I suppose you want to set up a new shop, you need for that 10,000 euro. You can tokenize your project, and you can sell your tokenized shares in the ecosystem where people become a shareholder. There will be back and forth where, I mean, shareholders, they see the books, because the books will also be done on the blockchain. I mean, there's some voting on so that's all built in. And for that, Stellar is super. Their engine we can use to build that tokenization. And I mean, we build that interaction, that governance, call it governance, project governance. We build that layer on top of it. It's not necessarily a smart contract, right? I mean, it's not in that classic sense of Ethereum, but it still allows for some flexibility to build up your project and have that interaction. And Stellar has, I mean, their core engine is super to have those to build those tokenized assets. So, and that's also some one of the things that we were building on in our ecosystem. These tokenized projects for people to raise funds for their own projects, and we all connect that, and it's in a blockchain peer-to-peer way where people can just interact with each other in an as trustful and transparent way. And of course, because everybody is KYC, I mean, everybody has scammers will be of course will be removed, and I mean it's as open as possible.
Yeah, probably just to back up a little bit. So we talked about Stellar. Stellar is, because the most instinctive use case, I think we'll be moving on from there, but it's the remittance use case.
That's
Stellar has a fantastic TPS, it can handle these kinds of volumes. It's built for this, so there was no reason to reinvent the wheel. So basically, if you think about it, we're actually a governance layer provider. So we built a governance layer on top that handles what we have in mind, so that it can deal with all these requirements while making maximum use of the building technology. Little drawback is with Stellar is that it is not famous for the best smart contracts. There is some limited smart contract capability, but it's good at tokenization. And as you saw recently, I think 3 or 4 days ago, the BlackRock CEO was saying he sees the biggest use case for blockchain and DLT in the tokenization area. I think that will also be interesting for us. And we've already got a lot of interest from the Middle East, tokenization of real estate and other things. Basically, it's tokenization like anything else, but with the added advantage that you're tokenizing in an Islamic ethical environment, which of course is more conducive if they have a choice between 2 technologies and one is catering for those needs, especially if you're closing to the government and other things, then they'll probably choose us.
True.
Okay.
So that's the main intention. And then on top of that, there'll be several interesting use cases, which we can take ownership of or develop, or others can develop them. We'll be open. We're basically just building the base to put everything else on top, and those can be, well, if you look at our roadmap, we're looking at gold-linked stuff, tokenization.
We've got the NFTs,
metaverse, and so on. Yeah. All the APIs to connect with financial service providers and so on. So still a long way to go, but I think we're starting at the right to build it right from the beginning.
Yeah.
That was the basic.
And I had a follow-up question exactly on the gold coin and a little bit on the tokenomics. If I'm like the average person, like using the platform, I guess the Caizcoin will be a bit more volatile. It wouldn't have a stable value. So in this Islamic world, we know people set a lot of value in gold, so they value gold a lot. So they would probably need some also stable value. So how do you solve their needs in terms of stability? You already have a very almost free transactions on Stellar. So if you have like stability, this would be great for remittances, people holding their net worth in Caiz. How do you solve this problem, or what do you offer these people?
Yeah, I mean, before we just on how we handle the coin and how the philosophy, even for listing and so on, what we have in mind is, we a lot of projects, when you see them coming online, they push them to the max, the high volatility in the beginning and then dropping down and so on. And we said right from the beginning, we're not even interested in playing these kinds of games. Yes, it's not going to be a completely stable coin itself, and it's going to be volatile, but we want to see it in a very well managed, non-greed, kind of stable environment. And from there, we will move into something like a gold-backed coin. We can't say too much yet, but we will also facilitate changing through a Caiz gold pair in and out of gold and so on. Gold itself is, some people say it's not really stable as such either, but it's inflation proof, it's real value, and so on and so on. So I think we will have that definitely. We're working on it very hard. We're coming up with news on this very soon. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And keeping with transactions, follow-up question on that. Ethereum, other chains, they all have bridges. So even though you have control over your own infrastructure, what if people build bridges and shift the coins to other, like to Polygon, for example, or other Stellar chains? Is this some kind of problem for you guys? Or do you want to keep the economy only on your infrastructure? How do you want to handle this in the future? Or is it even an issue? This is basically a question I came out of my mind.
Well, I think in the end you cannot stop it, right? I mean, it's out there. I mean, the technology is there. if people want to build things, well, we cannot control that. But of course, we are focusing on building our own ecosystem and building products and instruments in our own ecosystem. That's where we put our efforts in. That's what we push. That's what we want to grow. So yeah, I mean, look, in the end, if people are start to build bridges, and yeah, I mean, this is just a compliment that it is getting big and people see use cases that we didn't see. Hopefully they are good. But yeah, we focus on our own thing. That's more than big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be prevented. You know, we have this phenomenon now already that some people trading on Uniswap, and you know, we, even though we're not really fully launched yet, but we already have a price on Nomics and these kinds of things.
Okay.
People like to trade their 1 or 2 guys that they already have and do stuff with it. You know, but at the end of the day, it shows you that the maturity in the market is not really there. You know, people see the main purpose of crypto in buying and selling and trying to make a quick buck, which also came back to bite everybody at the moment. And the actual use cases, the actual anchor in the real economy is not strong enough. You know, everybody's whole idea is building exchange and then getting in and out of different kinds of crypto. I mean, this can't be the purpose for this technology. It's actually a waste, you know. So in a way, we all hope that this blows over, you know, and the market matures a little bit more. Yeah, but just to add, since DeFi involves unknown parties, anonymous parties, anonymous pools of anonymous money, we can't touch it. So we will never officially support anything DeFi, and we will not. Yeah, we're not going to go into that. We won't go into that area. No, can't help it if there's a secondary market in a way, but it's not where we will focus. Yeah. Even though people think some people think DeFi is the thing, you know, but I think due to regulation and a few other things, there will be some pockets where it works, but yeah, not for all places.
I mean, if you could call it, I mean, ethical DeFi, what we are proposing, but that's again a kind of a crowdsourcing platform. Maybe you see like that, where people just invest their real money, right? It's not that you lock your tokens, get a yield. I mean, yeah, what's the point of that? I mean, it's you don't do anything with your money, with your capital. It's just there, and you hope you get some interest. But I mean, with us, you can really invest your money in nice projects that help the world further, to grow your society, grow your, I mean, improve life of your family, of your environment. And that's that's maybe you can call it ethical DeFi, or just an
advantage will be we're working with one of the exchanges and our tech team on a staking alternative, because pure staking would be staking for interest. But if we construct it a little bit in a different way with certain constraints built in, we can basically, people can participate in shares of the pool, so that you circumvent the interest problem. So we're also looking at alternatives, you know, existing financial products or crypto products, basically, that we can do it in an ethical and a bit more regulated way.
Yeah, and that's indeed a cool thing. If you look at it, Islamic finance, they have an alternative for almost all the products that we have in Western style finance. So the Islamic alternative, and of course we are looking to bring all of these Islamic alternatives on our blockchain to make it available for everybody. I mean, for the Muslim world and for other people who want that more ethical approach to their finances, to wealth creation.
And there's still good ideas like that. Look, Islamic finance, I'm not sure what the number, but it's trillions of dollars in Islamic finance. It's just like here in the West, we're not really familiar with it. But if you think about like Indonesia or Malaysia, Indonesia has like 420 million inhabitants. That's more than Europe. And they have their banks. They have millions of people building houses, taking loans, and all this in an Islamic finance environment. And so there's enough market, enough ideas, demand for this kind of stuff. I also tend to look at, you know, Axie Infinity in the Philippines, where nobody really was pushing this, but it grew on its own, you know, and grew into a societal phenomenon where people actually do their all their daily needs in the in-game cryptocurrency, you know. So that clearly shows you that level of society is clearly under service, you know, and neglected. And those are the people we want to get to without the exploitational aspects of, you know, XE or whatever, you know. So yeah. But we've got very good signals from Indonesia. You know, there's a lot of things, the halal certification system, and a lot of things that they would love to put on blockchain, but they're a little bit constrained because they didn't know what technology to work with. Yeah, so plenty of stuff to pick from. Actually, our biggest problem is we're like a kid in a candy store, you know, to concentrate on a few things and leave some use cases to others to develop. Yeah. Last not least, for instance, we said wherever there's financial products, there's financial information. So, for instance, oracles for all Islamic financial products, like prices and so on, those needed to
because Chainlink does not provide such oracles.
Exactly. So why look, you know, this is really my management brain thinks of this blue ocean strategy, you know, that instead of jumping into the bloody pond where everybody's fighting, you look for a big sea ocean of people which haven't even been touched yet. And solve their basic pain points. That's it, you know. That's what you should be doing, you know, and not exchanging back and forth, you know.
We didn't number it. I mean, there are 1.8 billion Muslims who are looking for these kind of. I mean, it's incredible that
there's no alternative because we have the Western system on crypto.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that it's such a big group, underserviced. Yeah, and I think we are really focusing on helping them. It's unbelievable.
And, you know, it's basically up to every person, him or herself, regardless of religion, what they want to do or not. I mean, there's plenty of Muslims who have hodl Bitcoin and Ether, and, you know, it's also dependent on where you live and what the Islamic school is and so on. But I think there's still plenty of room. For instance, if you think like we said, you know, smaller governments or the halal certification body in Indonesia or in other countries, they wouldn't necessarily start with questionable technology in the first place, you know. So if you come to them and say, look, we have something that looks like crypto, works like crypto, everything is crypto, but we designed it with Islamic standards in place, so you can, if you want to build whatever blockchain use case on top of it, you can be assured that you're not violating anything right from the onset, you know. So that's what we had in mind.
I remember in doing my bachelor's, there was a problem with tracking halal and certification.
Exactly.
Looking into blockchain and certificates, putting them on blockchain. So this might be a solution, might not be a solution. I haven't followed the topic, but these questions we don't ask ourselves in the West. So you guys are covering a very specific group, which is a huge part of the planet, and they don't feel like these projects on crypto right now are like for them. And that's very interesting to have such a project. And I would have like maybe a final question, because we're approaching our end time. How do you like talk and how do you build all these communities with these people? How do you talk to them? How are they? Do you get feedback from them, and how do you get in touch and keep up with the community?
I mean, first, for me, it was a very surprising experience. We actually noticed that there's crypto communities which are Islamic crypto communities in South America, for instance, you know. Or in the US. It's amazing. You know, it's how many businesses, how many associations, how many and how many users, you know, in America alone. So reaching them through the usual crypto channels is possible. We're going through those channels, but we are also going through charity. Of course, we know the overlap between sports and crypto as well. A lot of our fans and community members here in Germany are into crypto, and they're also into sports. So we engage with them through fan clubs and the sports events and so on. And then we usually do usual crypto stuff, you know, going through to conferences and so on. But what we want to do is to be much more active, like coming to ITSA now and to other associations in Singapore, Middle East, Europe, and so on, so that we can also educate more about what we do. Because there's a lot of if you hear for the first time, you might get the wrong the wrong idea or a bit of a skewed view. So we try to explain to people what we're doing and how we're doing it. Yeah, but there is a growing community. I'm not sure about the numbers, but in Indonesia alone, we have a lot of fans in Africa. When we launch something, we see from where people come and visit. It's literally Indonesia, India, Pakistan. We recently sponsored a cricket game in Pakistan. We had huge hits on our websites and everything. So you just go where the people are.
Flow.
Exactly.
To add to that, I mean, a lot of social media, everything is in local language, right? So I mean, reaching out to people, and of course, these people, they are often first-time users of crypto, so they have no idea. So there's a lot of education, just talking about it. I mean, the use cases. It's really you need to educate them on what can you do with it, and I think Jörg already mentioned it. I mean, we see a lot of this traffic from several countries, but we have offices in Turkey and in Dubai and India and people in Pakistan. It's I mean, it's the team is growing and there's a lot of reach on the ground to make sure that we hear what the community is saying and that interaction. It's super, and people are enthusiastic. They are really waiting for the project. I think it's also the spirit in the office. I mean, people join this company because they want to realize this vision of building that alternative. And I think that's so nice. So people feel that. Also, people in the regions where we want to start promoting it. Yeah, they feel that and they want to be part of it. It's it's really a noble project that we're building, and it's there's no hard sell. I mean, you explain what you're doing and people like it because we're doing something good, and that's
also very different.
Very different.
Which is not common in crypto right now. So guys, we're approaching our time for the end of the interview. So I would like to first thank you for being on here, and please let the people know how can they follow you, can join you, where to find you online or offline. Final words from you guys, and I'll close the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, needless to say, community is very, 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 very important.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can have the best technology. If nobody knows about it, nobody uses it. Well, so that's why we are known for marketing as well, for the taxis, for the sports, for a lot of crazy things we're doing. We want to be different in that sense as well. We're on all social media channels, from TikTok to Facebook to LinkedIn to Instagram, Telegram. On our website at the bottom, you will see all the links. Also, some information on pending listing and these kinds of things. So the best is probably to go there. But we're on all the channels. Most interactive way you can also ask questions and be really part of the community instead of just watching is, of course, Discord.
Yeah.
Perfect. So final words from my side. I would like to thank you again for joining this interview with ITSA. I would like to ask the viewers to follow us on YouTube for more interviews like this, and click the like button, subscribe, and that's it. Thank you again. That was Caiz and ITSA, and see you next time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.